What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the NerdJock's podcast. I am Chris Marone.
I am Jesse Grund, and it's great to have you here for this really exciting episode. Chris, how are you?
I'm pretty good. Just wrapped on principal photography. Some might have been wondering, hey, they kind of just disappeared. And yeah, got a little busy. Got really hard to get on and do this, but back now, working on post-production. Excited to get back into the NerdJock life. What about you, Jesse? How are you?
Doing good. Doing well. You know, we just rolling with the punches, as they say, you know, between sports and the business. And I'm really excited to get back to doing this. I'm excited to get back to doing the NerdJock shorts that we're going to be putting out. We've got more content coming in 2021. I'm pretty excited about our content schedule that we have. 2021
isn't only full of negative things coming from 2020. There's positive coming your way from the NerdJock. So look out.
Yes. There's some really cool things coming. Really exciting. So today's guest, and this will kind of segue us, 2021 has started with a new television show that is kind of kicking off the Disney Plus Marvel universe. You might have seen it. It's called WandaVision. Pretty amazing show. I'm 4 episodes in by the time that we're shooting this.
You could say it's groundbreaking TV with the way in which they choose to do the storytelling, because I don't know if another show out there has attempted what they're doing with their storytelling based on the formats in which they move through.
It's pretty astonishing. And a lot of people after that first episode were like, whoa, what is this?
What am I watching?
I don't know how to take this. Yeah. What am I doing with this?
Why is Vision cracking all these jokes?
Yeah, exactly. Who is that guy? That guy's Vision? That doesn't look like Vision. Oh, okay. Oh, there's a change. Why is it black and white? Is my TV broken?
Yeah.
So there's a lot that's gone on, but we're really excited to bring on the show today. Close personal friend, and you may know him as Herb from WandaVision, David Payton. David joining us. David, thank you for being on the show. How are you, sir?
David.
I'm doing good, man. What's going on, everybody? It's a pleasure to be on the show.
Yeah. It's good to have you. So exciting times, you being a part of this cast, and we're going to talk a little bit about the show and talk a little bit about, you know, your history in the industry. But how have you been dealing with all like the new added attention that goes with being on such a popular, groundbreaking superhero television show?
It's surreal. It's surreal. You know, I'm taking it in as it comes along. You know, on the inside, I'm like a little fat kid at an all-you-can-eat buffet. Yeah. But you know, like I'm just trying to stay grounded on the outside and just absorb, you know, as much as I can. And still trying to learn as much as I can at the same time. So yeah.
Yeah. The added question I would say is, how many random odd DMs in Instagram or Twitter or Facebook did you not expect to get after being on the show?
A lot. A whole lot.
I have a friend of mine that worked on Stranger Things for a couple of seasons, Mr. Clark. His name's Randy Havens, and it's nonstop for him.
And you know what? You know, at the end of the day, you got to take the good or the bad. I was expecting both, but it's extremely entertaining to look at. So, I mean, what can you say to some of the odd things that you get in your DMs? I've started receiving some interesting stuff, which is, I mean, at the end of the day, it's still cool.
For sure.
Because I still have the power to like not respond.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there you go. Some people probably thirsty for Herb out there, if you know what I mean. So speaking of attention, kind of going back, you know, you and I have known each other for over 22 years now.
Yeah.
So I've kind of watched all the grind and everything else, but a lot of people don't necessarily know the grind and know what it's been like, you know, you getting into the industry and going to where you are. If they look at your IMDb, they'll see your first credit is back in 2014. But how long have you really been grinding in the industry, and, you know, what got you to where we are now?
Man, well, it all started with a thought, honestly. I mean, everything starts with a thought. Like, if you really want to do something, you start thinking about it, and it's from that point on, it's about, putting it into play. Like, okay, I've always known I wanted to be an actor. I've been acting since I was little. Just like acting like I want to go to church with my mom. Like little simple things, like acting like
Who am I playing today? Little church boy excited to go to church.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so it definitely started way before my 2014 credit on IMDb. Like little, plays here, little things here and there. My first performance, to be honest, my mom was my stage manager.
Wow.
And here's the funny thing, like she didn't even know it and I didn't even know it. As I'm looking back and I'm thinking about it, she would have me and my two older brothers stand in front of our family and sing old jailhouse songs.
Oh, wow.
From her boyfriend. Like her boyfriend would teach us old jailhouse songs and me and my two oldest brothers would like sing it at our family gathering.
And perform? Like actually do like movements and stuff? Yeah,
like,
that's awesome.
Yeah, actually do like, because at first we'll just be standing there like, I still remember the words, I don't even want to sing, but, I'm standing there like, she's like, do the little thing, David. I'm like, okay. And then like, our family started laughing and stuff. I'm like, oh, this is the reaction I'm getting? All right, I'm going to do it, Yeah. So it started at a young age. But when I really started taking it seriously, I would go to like the local colleges at the school in Valencia, try and network with some people there, did some stuff there.
So your pursuit started in Central Florida?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, my pursuit started in Central Florida, my hometown, my home city of Orlando.
Awesome.
Try to start finding acting classes, stuff like that. Trying to surround myself with people who are already in the business or know something of the business, pretty much. Yeah.
Did anybody give you that advice, or did you just kind of take that on your own and figured that would be probably helpful?
It was more so like because I'm more so like a first generation in my family.
Yeah.
So a lot of the stuff, I was trying to find someone to mentor me.
Oh yeah.
While in the process of just diving in head first, if you want to say it that way.
Yeah. That's why I'm so thankful for like the athlete side of my life, because I think one of the things I learned in my pursuit of athletics and doing a decade of my life for that is I realized the only reason I got better was because I had someone above me who had more experience than me, essentially mentoring me and teaching me. And when I stepped into film and TV, I was like, where are you, mentor? Where are you? I need you. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then it's way more difficult to try and find something when you don't have a person to bring you up. It's almost like it's a ladder. It's like a stepping stone, because there's always someone above you.
Yeah.
There's always someone above you and there's always someone below you. And if you can't find that person that's above you, you're like, where do I go? But I think the most important part is, as long as I was pressing forward, you know what I mean? Like that was the more important part. And then I ended up linking up with certain people that linked me up with certain situations, and long story short, here I am.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So if you look at your credits, obviously, so we started in 2014, and I knew we all knew, when we played football together, that you were a clown.
Pretty much.
In the best way. Yeah, but in the best way.
I was a real goofball.
Yeah, you were. Yeah, very much so. Yeah. My question would be, so 2014, your first credit, if you look at that list, your first big break, I would say, would probably be the show Chicago PD that you were on, that you had a talking role on, and that kind of, that took a couple of years. So was there any point in time during that time where you second guessed it, or you were like, man,
absolutely,
all these no's really start to push you?
No, absolutely. My no's came into the form of hardships. It wasn't necessarily, me auditioning and someone saying no. Your no's can come in different shapes and forms. It's not just you auditioning for a role and they're just going to tell you no. Like I was getting that. I wasn't even worried about that part because I was prepared for that. I wasn't prepared for the hardship in the beginning. Even before my 2014 credit, I went to the military, like right out of high school, because my goal was to go play football and, go to college and try and go into the NFL. But that, my life took a different turn. And I was like, I don't want to, be a statistic from my neighborhood, because I came from a tough neighborhood. And I made a decision right then and there. I was like, I'm gonna join the Army. Joined the Army, did my term, got out honorably, and it taught me a lot. However, I didn't retain enough to survive on the outside. There wasn't a specified program to transition me in the right way. So I went through a extensive hardship trying to find myself. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was like, okay, like, what am I gonna do? I'm still a goofball. I still know how to make people laugh. That's just my niche. That's my thing.
How do I make money off of that? How do I make a living off of that? What do I do with that technical skill?
And for me, it was like all my friends are successful. They're doing something really big. They're working the great jobs, and me, I'm just like, I'm floating. And I'm like, well, if I'm gonna be, a POS, I'm gonna be the POS who at least tried. You know what I'm saying? Like at least make an attempt. Like I don't mind working at the gas station, and if Jesse seemed like, hey bud, where you been? How you doing? Like, oh man, I'm good. It's like, well, what happened to your life? Well, I tried the acting thing. Didn't work out. Here I am. I wouldn't have minded that, So I stuck with it and I stayed faithful to it, and so far it's got me to WandaVision. And
yeah, let's segue to that. So how did that audition come to be, and what was that process like for you?
Man, let me tell you how real I kept it with myself, right? When I got the audition, I just know for sure I wasn't gonna get it.
Was it self-tape?
Yeah, it was self-tape. So it wasn't like, it was a self-conscious thing, like, like I was down on myself. It wasn't that. It's just I knew that, it was so many people, auditioning for this role. Like, come on. Like, in my mind, I'm thinking, man, they finna go for some sexy Idris Elba looking type dude, I was like, but I'm sexy. I just
Googled Idris was on hold.
So I was like, you know what? Bump it. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to give them the best version of me, and I'm going to go from there. But the main thing is I wanted to have fun with it, because I'm like, if they pick me, cool, great, hallelujah. If they don't, at least I got a chance to show them the best version of me, right? So usually my agent will just call me on the phone and be like, hey, congratulations, you got it. Here's the information. This is what you need to do. All right, time to get to work. She FaceTimes me. I still work my 9 to 5. She FaceTimes me. I'm on my lunch break.
You're like,
she's
yes.
like, hey, huh? Just want to let you know that you got the part. And I'm like, what part? She's like, Marvel, WandaVision. I was like, you messing with me? She's like, no, hon. Like, I'm celebrating with my girls. She's like, say hello to the girls. And I'm like, hey, ladies. So that happened. I get off the phone, and I kid you not, this is exactly what I did. I'm driving back to work. And while I'm on the expressway, I scream as loud as I possibly can. Like a little fat kid. Like, and then after I finished screaming, I lost all my breath. I was like, oh, all right, it's time to get to work.
Yeah. Got that out of my system.
Right. So I got it clean out my system, and it was time to get to work.
you read and you auditioned for the role, were you thinking small part, 1 episode, 2 episodes? Did you know the scope of it? I mean, I'm 4 episodes in by the time we're shooting this, and you've been in 50% of the episodes. So like, did you know that the scope of the role when you read for it?
Well, no. I just knew I needed to. All I knew was I got the role, 1, and number 2, I need to continue to give them the best version of me. That's all I knew.
Wait, so you didn't do a callback? You booked straight from tape?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I don't know what that means, but yeah.
You know what a callback is?
Well, no, I know what a callback is, but I don't know, I try and stay away from trying to realize no. I did something so dope or something so amazing.
Yeah. I booked Vampire Diaries off tape. So that's what I mean is I understand the significance of doing that when you put in a tape once and you just send it out and you're like, whatever. And then you're like, I was asleep and I got the call and it was like, hey, you got it. And I was like, got what? What are you talking about? Yeah. So I felt like when you were telling me that story, I was like, there's no callback?
Tape auditions,
yeah.
Tape auditions are extremely different from walking in front of a casting director or producer, director.
And you get to make the personal connection before you get into doing the role. Yeah.
It's like you have to do it through the video. Yeah. And people think it's easy, but it's not as easy as you think it is.
Nope. And they're just sitting there doing this. Click.
Right.
Click.
Right.
Just
so
moving through.
At the end of the day, why not give them your personality?
100%.
What's the worst they're gonna do? Click over you?
Yep, exactly. Because they're already doing it. They're already in click mode.
Right. I'm not saying show up butt naked on the tape, but I'm just saying.
So what's it been like going from the productions you were doing to now being in probably the most successful production company in the world, working with Disney and working with Marvel? What's that transition been like for you?
It's a good question. I think the previous productions prepared me for this production. Like all the small productions, I learned something from each production, from the production I was on in 2014 to Chicago PD to the Waves movie. I learned something from all of those productions, even the productions I was at when I was at Valencia College. I learned something from all of that. So this production, it didn't really seem overwhelming. It wasn't overwhelming at all for me for 2 reasons. 1, in my mind, I expected myself to be in that position, number 1. And then number 2, because of those previous experiences. And I retained a lot of that, the etiquette from being on those sets. And I just transferred it over to, being, on that production. And that production was, Marvel don't play. They are on point.
So I'm well aware you have certain things you can't talk about. So I'll give my own experience and I'll see what you resonate with. And just because I'm curious, so when you go from those smaller productions, because some people who might be listening to this, but I might be interested in what the whole acting thing is like, right? And what that pathway is. You go from one production where you have no trailers. It's hard to be organized because there's just not a lot of money. Locations, you don't know where your wardrobe, your prop department, it's all handled by one person, probably the director. You've got all this stuff going on in this mobile base camp thing going on. And then you go to one of these types of productions and you're there is a location for every department. There is a location for so many different things that you have to go in and check in at.
Dude, I resonate with all that.
And it's crazy because it's so magnified that you're just why couldn't this almost be more simplified? This feels way too much, but I guess I'll do the best I can.
Yeah, and you would think that in the sense of where obviously, man, Marvel is on a whole nother level.
Yes.
These types of productions just, they have, a person in charge for every single thing, which is cool. I've been in productions where, the person holding the camera was the one ordering the food and cleaning the bathroom and taking care of the wardrobe.
Yeah.
and the one handing you the check.
I went through most of that on the film that I just produced. Most of that was going through that experience. So yeah,
it's like, but you have to start somewhere. Yep. So it's like all of it is dope though. It's like no one thing is greater than the other. You know what I mean? Like the whole experience was dope. Even the times where you would feel like, oh man, why am I here? You know, you got to take all that stuff in. You got to take the good with the bad. And man, it was magical.
That's awesome.
I'll say that.
It does feel like that. Yeah.
All you have to do is watch the show and see that you've shared screen and lines with some powerhouse actors and actresses. What's it been like working with, Paul Bettany and, as of right now, the two biggest names that I've seen you be on screen with, share lines with, are Paul Bettany and then obviously Catherine Hahn. And she's amazing in everything I've ever seen her in. So it's got to be awesome being on screen with her.
Oh man, that girl funny, man. That girl funny as hell. And like she reminds me of like a female version of me.
Ooh,
just more professional.
Yeah.
And a female. Like,
I appreciate your honesty.
So yeah, that's one of those surreal moments where you like, okay, I'm here, cool. And we had a lot of fun. We clowned around a little bit between, takes and, just having fun, man. And just, it was dope. It was really dope. Yeah.
Did you take any, like, there's people who are really experienced, in between takes? Was it one of those things where it's like, okay, just keep it professional, or are you like trying to absorb as much as you can, picking their brain on things, you being, as new as you are in the game? I understand there's almost got to be this like fine line you have to walk of like acting like you're supposed to be there, but also being like, humble enough to be like, right. Hey, if you got any advice for me, I'd love to have it.
Like you said, man, it is a fine line between. I mean, it's about having a discernment and then just the understanding of how you approach people. Like, because at the end of the day, like these, celebrities or A-list type of actors, however you want to describe them, at the end of the day, they're human beings. Bottom line, but at the same time, it's still a job. It's still a career, the livelihood. So you don't want to, approach them on some extra nonsense that they already have to deal with from other people, let alone their counterpart they're working with. So yeah, it's a balance. You got to know when and when not to approach people. Most of the time, like I said, my goal is to go there, give the best version of me possible, and keep it moving. Everything else is just perks. Everything else is just a plus. And being on set, and as you could tell from the first 4 episodes, having the dialogues with Catherine Hahn and Paul Bettany. Paul Bettany's, man, that dude's he's a sweetheart, in the coolest way, and he gave me some really good words of affirmation of why I should, stick with this. And, and I'm forever humbled by that.
Did he share with you his story? I don't know how much you got to interact with him, but I just remember reading a story or hearing a story of his where he was kind of like on the end of his ropes before he got the Marvel gig, and that he was in kind of like a place of like, I think my career's done. And then that phone call.
I kind of read up about that a little bit. I never really, me personally, I didn't want to get too personal because, I don't, this is my first time ever meeting them.
Yeah.
The one thing I like to do is I like to give people their roses while they're, still alive.
Yeah.
And he was in one of my favorite movies, A Knight's Tale.
Oh yeah. He did such a good job in that.
Yeah, like, and it was like one of those movies where like you can just like grab a drink and just watch it and just chill.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's like one of my chill movies. That's why it's one of my favorite movies. And I had to tell him, I'm like, dude, I can't believe it. Like, I went home after filming one day, and I popped the DVD in. Somebody stole it though, but kind of upset about that.
That person.
And I told him, I was like, man, I can't believe it. You know, I was like, I ain't gonna lie to you, dude. Like, I kind of teared up. I was like, I worked with that dude. I literally watched the DVD, and I'm looking at him. I'm like, I just worked with this dude. I was like, yeah. This is cool. This is really cool, you know. But like working with these guys was phenomenal, man. Like they're really, you know, down to earth. And, you know, even if I didn't have any kind of conversation, just the collaboration from working with them on camera was good enough for me. You know what I'm saying? So it was
awesome. Dope. So outside of being a member of the MCU, I'm going to throw a question your way. Were you a big consumer of Marvel films prior to working on them? And if so, is there a character that you look forward to possibly seeing be made one day, or ones you've heard about online that are public knowledge, of course, things like that like you're like, oh, I can't wait till they do a film about this character?
Prior to being a part of the MCU family, I was a moderate MCU fan, meaning that like I watched all the movies, and like when I was younger, I used to like look at the comic books and kind of read over them a little bit. But I wasn't as extreme or as knowledgeable as the actual Marvel fan base. So, you know, when I was able to be a part of, you know, the MCU family, it was like, okay, I need to do some more research. I'm still doing research to this day, you know, just to make sure I'm on point.
Yeah.
But as far as like favorite characters, man, I don't care what they do, just as long as they do it and keep doing how they doing it. I'm cool with. They can come up with a bubble gum chewing baby for the MCU family, and I'm gonna be supporting it.
Yeah.
Gag, Google. I'm right there.
Keep it chewing.
I wanted to ask this. So, seeing that the theme of the show has been changing different eras within whatever's going on within the bubble, have you had a favorite era, a favorite costume that you got to wear that wasn't normal? You don't necessarily have to share any of the to-go eras that haven't been shared, but like, you know, obviously we've already seen kind of the 50s and the 60s and even the 70s at this point. You know, did you have a favorite as you were going through all those?
I like all of them. All of them. just to make that as simple as possible. Honestly, man, but no, seriously, like I love them all. You know, I can't really go into detail about any of that because I don't want to break the integrity of the series itself. But you know, from the last 4 episodes, man, from what you saw, I loved all that. That was my high. I loved it.
And I wonder how magnified that was, because I know the wardrobe process that I've gone through on my own projects, and they're like 6 or 7. And so when I think about like Marvel or Disney, I'm like, there's got to be like 16 or 17 that they're going through to select and to make that choice. Because I was reading about that costumer, the head wardrobe, and she's
amazing.
Huge undertaking and responsibility on her shoulders, and she's been killing it. I forget her name, but she's
absolutely.
Just been killing it.
I couldn't agree with you more, man. She was dope. I had an opportunity of meeting her, and you know, phenomenal woman. I wish I knew her name right now. I'm so sorry.
I know. When you work on sets like that and you meet so many people, you're like, I hate being this terrible with names.
Yeah, I am, and that's something I gotta learn how to get better at, because I met a lot of great people. I mean, from the janitors to the casting crew, the assistants, background, everybody was dope, man. Everybody was dope.
So, something that you seem to be good at, or at least trying harder than people like Tom Holland have in the past, is not to spoil anything. do you know, like, what has it been like for
Maze
you,
Rubio.
The name. Just random.
Sorry. No, I had to look it up. I have to give credit where credit is due. Maze Rubio.
Yeah, Maze. Yeah, Maze is dope.
I thought he was in like some sort of trivia.
No, I was like,
I thought it had Tourette's.
Maze Rubio. That's who it is. That's who it is.
What is the whole secretive gag order stuff been like for you? Like, and like, do you have any anecdotes of like your mom being like, so David, what's this show really about? And you having to be like, Mom,
man, look, I have people ask me left and right, like, dude, what's about to happen in the next episode? Like, can you tell me this? Or why is Herb doing this? Or what's Herb about to do? Or why he did this? Or what? And I'm like, you're just gonna have to watch. You're just gonna have to watch, and I tell them this, like, even if I knew, I still wouldn't tell you, because I don't want to take away from, you know, the integrity of the series. The series is so good. It's so entertaining. Like, I'm not finna be that guy that be in a movie and be like, oh, that's the dude who dies in the end. Like, nah, it's not gonna be me. It's not gonna be me. And plus, I agreed not to do it. So I'm gonna keep my end of the bargain.
That's so funny. So outside of WandaVision and MCU and being a part of this, you know, Nerd Jock podcast, I want to ask you, because I know we spoke on the jock thing a little bit with you having played football and obviously going into the military, as you shared as well too. What are some of the nerd aspects of Nerd Jock that you resonate with or resonated with growing up?
I was pretty much I was a geek hiding in the jock's body, and people who really, really know me knew that. Yeah. It was just that I guess I kind of came off as a little bit cooler than what I really was, I guess. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's kind of messed up how you point at your brother like that, dog.
Oh, no, I was pointing at myself. I was saying me. Sorry. I was like, me. You're on your, so wait, on your Zoom, it looks like I'm pointing up at, and it's like, Jesse. No, but here, no, I'm just raising my hand. Me, I was one of those. And
you know, it's so funny because you know how like you see like all the movies where, you know, the geek gets the girl at the end. At the end of the day, the geek was always the cool guy. Mm-hmm. Like if you really think about it, the geek was always the cool guy. He was just different, you know. And I was always a little bit different in high school. I did some weird things to grab a lot of people's attention, but I was kind of like a whole different lane.
Do you want to elaborate on weird things you did to grab people's attention?
Nah, just leave that.
Yeah, we're gonna leave that. Yeah, we're gonna leave that. Yeah.
I love these stories.
Well, I'll say this: I wasn't the class clown, but I wasn't the cool jock.
Okay.
I was like, there was some type of balance right in between. Like I can adapt to any crowd.
A clown jock.
I don't know about the term clown. I prefer goofball jock. I prefer that a little bit, but.
No, David was always clowning. I don't know if I would call him a clown. He was always clowning.
Yeah, I was always clowning around.
Yes.
You know.
He was good. He was always good for a laugh. That's for sure. Always good to brighten things up, and even in the most serious of situations, cut it with a little bit of humor. And it was never ostentatious. Like it wasn't too much. It was always just great. So obviously we have no idea what happens with WandaVision moving forward because A, you're not going to tell us, and B, there's still 4 more episodes of the show to go.
That's right.
Where do you go from here? You know, not necessarily with the character Herb, but where do you go from here? And is there something on your horizon that's next up that you have going on, or is it just kind of, you know, open sea and see where the winds take you?
I think it's both. You know, right now, my goal right now for me, I'm just going to take care of the things that I have control over, which is, you know, constantly working on my craft, constantly studying, you know, reading up on some things, preparing myself to do some more networking, and just do that. Those are the things I have control over. As far as any, new projects, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. And in the meantime, I'm just going to prepare for them. I'm going to prepare for what's coming my way, basically.
Do you have any plan of making a big trip either out west or to the northern East Coast?
He wants you out of Tampa. He really wants you out of Tampa.
Yeah, that's what he's trying to do.
You gotta understand. Look, I took the leap of faith in 2015, and it was no joke. I didn't have a big credit like WandaVision. I did have a credit with Vampire Diaries, and I did internship with Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson. Like, I'd done some projects. It was a bigger fish in a small pond. But then once you take the leap out into like the ocean, where you're surrounded by these
look, man, I'm a
creatures.
grown man. I still don't know how to swim, so I'm gonna continue to dip my foot on the I guess the shallow end.
Yeah.
No, I mean that might be the plan. That's something I'm looking into. Me, I'm still a Florida boy, so
there's a lot of similarities out here. There's a lot of similarities. The one thing that I love not having to deal with, humidity. I gotta say, when you can walk into the shade and it actually works, that's a nice feature. Because
yeah, that is true. When I was in the military, I was out in California.
Okay.
So yeah, that was a great thing.
You were like, oh wow,
I will trade
temperature
real
changed.
quick. I'll trade humidity for earthquakes any day of the week.
The earthquakes,
like, literally, you want to give me 87% humidity?
I don't mind sweating a lot.
Cool, ground shaking underneath me. Gotta go.
Look, I'd rather be a honey glazed homeboy than to be shaking my fat behind, at any odd given time.
Look, in no way am I like, LA is the greatest place to live. No, not at all. I don't. It's not like, move here, people. It's great. No, it is very hard. It is very hard.
The cost of living
is stupid.
Man.
It shouldn't even exist, and it does. But I will say, the earthquakes thing does get taken a little bit out of proportion, only for those who haven't lived here long enough to be like, okay, that's what earthquakes are like. So yeah,
it's still a thing.
Of course.
I don't have to worry about that here.
Look, man, I just don't want to fall through the cracks of the earth.
I know.
Seriously.
Yeah. Cinema has a big effect on the way in which we perceive natural disasters.
Mudslides, flash floods, lots of fire. Florida, we just got rain and hurricanes, whatever, humidity, bees and people, meth, whatever. There's some things down here too.
Gators, water moccasins.
Come on, man.
You've been to Christmas before. You know where the meth is. I'm just saying. Anyway.
I'm afraid of Christmas.
Run away.
I like to celebrate it during the 25th.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't like to go there.
So
I was also getting to the point of like, if you did come out here, we would have to, get together and work and hang out and all of the above. Man. So part of me like also being like, hey, come on, come.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's probably the plan. There's a lot of people on my team that have been poking me to do the LA thing.
Here's the thing about something you said, and I would tell this to anybody who's listening and might actually be interested in, like, I'm interested in entertainment or pursuing it, and where do I go, whatever. The thing about LA, New York that is different than anywhere else is that networking word that you were using before. You can walk into a coffee shop and literally find someone there by accident that you just either bump into, you grab their coffee, or you've worked with them before, whatever happens, and you start talking, and then networking begins, and the next thing you know, you're working, or you're at a social event meeting other people, and then you start working. It's this crazy thing that people, why they poke and like, hey, you gotta make the jump. New York and LA has that type of experience.
And I guess that's the thing that, like, I don't want it to be where that's the reason why I go, because I think a lot of people make that move solely off the fact that they want to make it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, and because my colleagues and, my team, we've been having this conversation for the longest. And a lot of people on my team have always been saying, like, look, or like people on the outside, even people on the outside for them, it's like, why are you still in Florida? Like, shouldn't you be in Atlanta or New York or LA? And I'm like, no. I'm like, especially when I was first starting out, I'm thinking to myself, like, no one even knows me here.
Right.
What makes you think I'm gonna just go all the way to LA and be like, hey, how you doing? It's me. My name's David Payton. How you doing? I want to be an actor. I'm okay. You just gonna walk away? All right. Nah, I mean, it's.
Can I add to that? Can I
ahead.
share with you something I think on that, and something I think is really interesting about what you said, because I felt that same way back in Atlanta, right? And I had that same kind of like that mindset. But one of the things that I realized, and something that had kind of like had clicked with me in making the jump and making the leap out here, is the rat race is just as big, if not more magnified. There's just people out here that's been doing it for like 10 years, 15 years.
Right.
And they've never done a show as big as WandaVision. And just ultimately in terms of like that accomplishment for you, which is huge and it's amazing. It's one of those, it's one of those like pieces, like for example, if I think of like a video game, right? If I find this awesome piece of armor that allows me to go fight this big boss that I wasn't able to go fight before, but now that I have possession of the armor, I'm going to go fight this boss. I might venture out and fight that boss.
Yeah, or you can just shoot it from where you're at.
That's true too. Because you got a sniper.
I mean, right. But like, and that's the thing. Like, I'm not taking away from that fact. So for me, it's like when it's gonna be eventually, right?
Yep.
I just want to make sure that it's logical. I'm still following my dream, but I want to make it make sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to just go because I feel it. Because feelings don't pay the bills. You know what I'm saying? Like,
it would be cool if they did, though. It would be very cool.
What? Oh, I would be a billionaire.
This place to rent costs 1,000 happiness a month. Cool.
Right. Cool.
I got you. I
got $1 billion happiness waiting in my back pocket. Like, what's up? Like,
excited to pay with this
let's
currency.
get a man. But all in all, like, I just want to make sure that it's appropriate for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's going to happen, but I just want it to be appropriate. That's all.
Well, I think I can say, like, I understand where your journey has been, probably more so than the regular everyday person. And I know where you're grinding towards, and I know if you decide you want to do something, you're going to do it, and you're going to give them the best version of you that you possibly can.
Absolutely.
That's how you've always been. So we're excited to see the next 4 episodes of WandaVision, see what happens with her, why he was cutting that darn wall in that scene. And really excited to see you in 80s attire. I think that's gonna be that's the one I'm looking forward to seeing you dressed like somebody from the 80s. So really excited for WandaVision, and excited to have you on here today, David. Thank you so much.
I appreciate you guys, man, and thank you for having me, man. It was definitely a pleasure.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much for stopping by, joining us, chatting, cutting it up.
Cool.
All right. So for Chris and myself, I want to thank you guys for tuning in to NerdJock. Be ready for shorts that are coming, new content that's coming, new interviews that are coming, some really cool stuff on the horizon.